Hello everyone, I hope you're having a great day. Well, February 1st. Today we are revealing the brand new February 2019 Spellbinders card kit of the month, and it's called Golden Swan. Lots to do. I always say that, but we're going to jump in with our first project. Now, if you missed the unboxing, I'll link it up above for you if you want to check it out, and then I'll also leave the video at the end here. But we're going to start off by doing some die cutting. I die cut out some gold leaves. Next, two sets here. Next, I'm going to cut out a panel that's 4 inches by 5 1/4 using the teal colored cardstock, tealish bluish colored cardstock. This is going to leave me a little bit of a white border on my card base. Now for today's 10 cards, I'm going to be using everything that's in the kit and just the kit, although I do bring in my own glue. I always run out of the dimensional adhesive, so I brought in some of those of my own, and then also I brought in glossy accents. So some basic supplies. But I went ahead and adhere my blue panel directly to my card base. I'm using the pre-scored and folded card bases that came in the kit. There's 10 in total. I'm also going to use the tag. We're going to adhere that to our card base, and then I'm also going to adhere a piece of the ephemera that has the flowers on it right below, covering up that little area on that tag. Okay, these are some beautiful 3D stickers. I'm going to use 2 of them. One of them, the top one, has my sentiment that says best wishes. I'm kind of going to overlap them a little bit, and since they have foam adhesive on the back, all I have to do is stick them down. For a little bit of extra shimmer, I'm going to add my gold foil leaves. Here's where I brought in my glue. I'm just going to glue them, kind of tucking them underneath the 3D stickers. And I believe I'm going to take my scissors and trim this top one in half. That way they're a little bit spaced closer together. Lovely. Pretty simple card, but I think it's so pretty with those 3D stickers. Now for finishing touches, I'm going to use the gold sequins that came in the kit. We're just going to use 3. I like to place my sequins first and then break out the glue. That way it just saves a little bit of time. I'll just glue those down, and that completes my best wishes card, card number 1. And here's some close-ups for you. And if you guys want to see still shots of each of my projects, you can visit my blog. I'll leave a link down below. And then also, if you're interested in the kit, I'll leave that link down below too. Okay, card number 2, we're going to make a birthday card. So I cut out a thin strip. It's about a 1/2 inch strip of this one is the rose pink. No, it's the darker pink cardstock that was in the kit. I'm just adding my double-sided tape to that, and then the ephemera presents there. We'll remove the release paper off of our cardstock and place that in the bottom of our card base. Next, we'll adhere our presents. This is going to be like it's going to be set in the background. Next, for our little wolf with the birthday hat, I think he's just so cute. I'm going to add dimensional adhesive. This is going to give my card a little bit of dimension, and it's going to bring him to the foreground a little bit better. We're going to place him on the lower right of our card, right above our pink cardstock on the bottom there, kind of grounding him a little bit. We're going to add some foam tape behind our little balloon, and our balloon has our sentiment for this card. It says, "Let's party." After we have our dimensional adhesive adhered, we're kind of going to tuck him right behind the wolf. We'll scoot him over. And we're going to use one of the little puffy stickers in the kit. There's a cute little mouse. Just love this little guy. We're going to place him right next to the wolf. He's going to join the party. And again, I'm going to take the gold sequins. We're just going to add a little bit of extra sparkle, kind of bringing there's gold all over this card, but I thought a few extra gold sequins would just make it a little bit more festive. We'll just glue those down with my glue. Kind of tucking that behind my wolf there, and that completes card number 2. Super fun. Here's some close-ups. Okay, card number 3. I'm going to take this pattern paper. Now this has words on it, and I want to make a landscape style card, so I'm making sure when I cut out my panel that's 4 inches by 5 1/4, I'm making sure that the words go horizontal. I almost came close to cutting it out the wrong way. So horizontal is good. We're going to adhere this to our card base. Now we'll set that aside, and we're going to do a little bit of stamping. So I have a piece of cardstock here. This cardstock is 4 1/4 inches by 2 3/4 inches. Next, we're going to take the little flower stem that's in the stamp set, and I'm using the grid lines on my block, my acrylic block, to make sure that my stem is straight. The stamps are a little bit wobbly, and so grid lines help with that. I'm going to stamp the stem using my VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I'm going to stamp it 5 times, and we're going to do kind of like a carousel motion where we go up and down and up and down. Just filling in that entire little panel there. Next, there's the smallest little flower in the stamp set. I'm going to take that, and I was going to ink it up with my VersaFine ink, but I decided to change inks because I'm going to use my Copic markers to color in the flower, and I really like my memento when I do Copic coloring. So I'll stamp that flower 5 times. And I'm twisting and turning my flower so they're kind of a little bit positioned a different way. Okay, images are stamped. Now we get to color them in. I just used a rainbow of colors using my Copic markers. I didn't do nothing fancy, just 2 different shades. I used yellow, oranges, purples, a teal, and then also a pink. After I had them colored in, I did create kind of a shadow with my gray marker. And in the close-ups you'll see that. I wanted to bring in some gray behind my flowers, and so I just added gray shading to the right side of my flowers. Next, I adhered my flower panel to a gold panel that is measured by 4 1/4 by 3 1/4, and I left the top a little bit narrower than the bottom. And I have some ink on my panel there. I just used my eraser to erase that ink. We're going to use a few more puffy stickers, so I decided to use the Beautiful. I'm going to start off by adhering the U, and then we'll place the B on the top, and then the T-full right below. Lovely. We'll flip this panel over, and I did add some foam tape behind it. I didn't want to use the foam squares that came in the kit because I'm a little stingy with them, so I brought out my foam tape roll. But you can, if you don't have a foam tape roll or extra adhesive, you could just completely adhere this to your card base. For my last finishing touch, this is where I brought in my glossy accents, and I'm just dotting each of my flower centers just to raise it up a little bit more, and then that finishes off that card. Here you can see the gray shadows. It makes a difference with that gray and black and kind of a smoky gray colored background. Okay, for card number 4, we're going to do some die cutting. I'm going to die cut out the sentiment that says, "It's your day," with gold cardstock and then also black cardstock. I'm going to take my glue and layer them both together. I'm placing the gold on the top. And then I did offset it just a little bit so the black is peeking out. Next, I'm going to take the gold and white pattern paper. It's polka dot, the larger polka dot. And I'm going to adhere a panel directly to the bottom of my card base. After that's adhered, I'm just going to trim off the exit. There's a little bit overhanging here. And I did trim down a piece of the black and gold heart pattern paper. I just wanted 1 strip of gold hearts. So I just trimmed that down, and we're going to place that over the seam. Just making sure it's straight there. You wouldn't think a strip of paper would be a problem, but that one just I couldn't get it straight. Okay, after that's ready to go, we're going to go ahead and use our glue to adhere our sentiment. And we're going to place it basically towards the left upper portion of this card base. And just add our little comma, and there's our sentiment. Now I'm going to use little penguins that are stacked on top of each other holding the gold balloon. I'm actually, since there's 2 of each ephemera piece, I'm going to use 1 extra of the larger penguin on the bottom. I just trimmed him away from the smaller penguin. And then I'm going to add some foam adhesive behind him, and we're going to place him on the bottom of our card base. We're going to stack 3 on top of each other. We'll add some foam adhesive behind our ephemera piece here. Okay, once they're all stacked together, I want to use that extra little gold balloon. And I wanted the penguin on the very bottom to be holding a balloon also. So we're going to place that in his little hand. Now I have this extra little penguin, and that's the great thing about having two of the ephemera pieces is you can decorate the inside of your cards. But I didn't want him to go to waste. So I just placed him in the corner on the inside of my card. Super cute. Now I'm going to add 3 gold sequins. And then that completes card number 4. Okay, moving along, we're going to move to card number 5. I think this one was super duper easy, but I think it's probably my favorite. I just love the black against those roses. I cut out a strip of the black cardstock in this month's kit, and then I adhered it 1 inch from the left side of my card base. Next, I'm going to add some of my double-sided tape on the rest of the card base, and then I'm going to adhere my black and white stripe pattern paper. That's going to fill in my entire card front on the right side. I'll just use my scissors to trim off the excess. Now I have one more 3D sticker, and it coordinates with those flowers on that pattern paper just beautifully. And I'm not going to press down on it just yet. I'm going to stamp my sentiment. I have a piece of the white cardstock, and I'm going to use my VersaFine ink to stamp "Thanks a bunch." And again, the stamps are a little bit wobbly, so I suggest using a acrylic block that has grid lines on it. That way you can make sure it's straight. I just blocked it off, and I did add foam adhesive behind it. We'll just trim down a couple little pieces and pop up our sentiment. And then that's going to go directly underneath my 3D rose. I'm kind of going to tuck it underneath 1 layer. And then I pressed everything down. I did add one of my puffy stickers that says "Love Grows Here," and I placed it right underneath the thanks. And I'm going to leave it at that. I think it's just a gorgeous, simple card. Okay, card number 6. We're going to make a birthday card, so I'm using this ephemera piece. And again, since there's 2 pieces of ephemera, I'm taking the second piece and I'm going to fussy cut around each one of my candles, kind of separating them. After they're all separated, I'm going to alternate candles on my full ephemera piece. So we're going to add 1, we'll skip 1, and then add the same color over, skip 1, and do the same. So there's 4 popped up candles on that ephemera piece, kind of creating our own 3D sticker here. I thought about adding the others, and I decided not to. Okay, next I have a piece of gold cardstock I trimmed down, and then I also trimmed down the light pink cardstock. I trimmed that down to 1.5 inches, and this is going to go on the bottom of my card base. And then next we're going to kind of line up the coral against the gold, and the coral color is 1 inch strip, and I just layered on the very bottom of my card base. We added our candles there, and for my sentiment I'm going to use one of the gold stickers, I chose Happy Birthday. Place that right in the bottom. Lovely. Now I had extra candles, so we'll take those and we're going to decorate the inside of our card as well. I'm just going to place them on the bottom right corner, stacking them kind of together. I just adhere them with my glue, and then we'll just trim off the excess. And our inside's nice and pretty, matches the front of our card. Okay, we're going to add sequins. This time we're going to go a little crazy with them. I wanted them all over my candles, so I'm placing them kind of like a confetti arrangement all over the front of my candles. After we get that done, I'm going to go in with my glossy accents, and I did go over the flames of my candles to give them a little bit of shine. And then that finishes off that card. Oh, it's a fun little birthday card, and I love the colors that came in this month's kit, and I love the variety. I think you get a little bit of everything. You can always use birthday cards. So here's some close-ups. Okay, moving along, we're going to move along to card number 7. We're going to make a hello card. I'm going to take this pattern paper that has the gold scripty words on it, and I'll trim down a panel that's 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches. And then next we'll take the gold striped pattern paper, and I'm going to cut it at a diagonal, and then I'm going to tape it down to my scripty word pattern paper. We'll just kind of line it up using the lines on the pattern paper as a guide, and then I'll just trim off the excess. I'll use my double-sided tape that came in this month's kit, or it comes in all the Spellbinders kits, which is wonderful. And then we'll adhere that to our card base, and I'm just making sure it's centered. It's going to leave me about a 1/4 inch border all the way around. Okay, next I'm going to take some of the gold cardstock. I'm going to use my paper trimmer and cut down a really thin strip. This is going to go over the seam on my diagonal edge. This was an afterthought, so no worries. I'm just going to take my scissors and cut it at an angle so all the edges line up beautifully. Since it is a thinner strip, I'll use my glue to adhere that over the seam. Lovely. Okay, for this card we're going to use some more of the ephemera pieces. We're going to use both of the same pieces, the little flower arrangement here. I'm going to stamp my sentiment. Again, we'll use the hello. I'm just stamping it on white cardstock, and then I did block it off, and then I cut out a gold panel to fit right behind it. We're going to mat our hello on the gold. Okay, we're kind of going to place our flowers like it's trailing up our diagonal, and I'm just playing around with my placement, and when I'm happy then I can commit to securing them to my card base. But first we'll pop up this arrangement and place that down first, and then I'm going to adhere my second little flower cluster just using my double-sided tape. We'll kind of tuck it underneath. And then for my hello, we'll add a few of the foam squares. And then all we have left are our bells and whistles. So again, we're going to use I've been on the 3 sequin roll lately, so 3 is great. We're going to use 3 again for this card. We'll just adhere those with our glue. And if you wanted to use your glossy accents, it would work the same too. But this glue is my favorite, and I have never had any problems with it. So that finishes off card number 7, guys. Okay, I'm excited to share with you card number 8 because we get to use the golden swan. It's so pretty. Using a piece of the gold cardstock, I'm going to cut out my swan. And I trimmed down my little square, probably a little bit too small. It was a pretty tight fit, but I got it on there and it die cutted beautifully. But I'm doing the wing and my swan. I'm going to take the smaller flower cluster and cut out some green leaves. I'll take the little white flower, or the flower in the flower center, and I'm going to cut out a couple white flowers. We're also going to die cut out the little crown for the swan. Now for the swan's little bill, I'm going to use black cardstock, and then I'm going to die cut it out with the white cardstock. Now each of the little elements, after you die cut it out, add beautiful detail to your swan. So I'm just taking my tool-in-one and flipping my swan over and punching each of those little elements so that it gives my swan a little bit of a 3D effect. I did that to the wing also. We're going to add our wing using the foam adhesive. Now I just cut very thin strips and I placed it below, in between the little detail on my swan wing. That way you can't see it since they are fluffed up a little bit. We'll go ahead and adhere our wing, and she's just so beautiful. And then we're going to go ahead and add our little detail for his bill. I'm going to use the black first and adhere this. Now this, you just kind of turn it until it's like a puzzle piece. You just keep turning it until it fits right above the little bill. And then after that black piece is adhered, you can go to add his little white beak. Super pretty. Okay, I did cut out a piece of pattern paper with the black and gold print on it. I'm going to use my tape runner and adhere that a little bit towards the left of my card base. I left about a 1/2 inch area from the left side. We better use our grid lines on our grid mat. Sometimes it helps a lot. Okay, after we trim off the excess, we'll go ahead and stamp our sentiment. For this one, I chose "You Are Simply Wonderful." I'm going to stamp it with my VersaFine Onyx Black ink again, and I'm going to stamp it on the white extra piece of cardstock that came in a kit. Now this is textured side up, but I haven't had any problem with it stamping on the texture. I think it stamps beautifully. Using my paper trimmer, I'll just trim it down, even it up a little bit, and then I'm going to fishtail the left side, creating a little banner that's facing the left here. And we'll just use our scissors to fishtail the end. I'm going to use a piece of foam tape to add that behind my sentiment. This way I have enough of the foam tape for the rest of my cards. This is going to go towards the bottom. And then we'll go ahead and add our little golden swan. And I did add the little golden swan's crown as well. Now, to bring in some color, I'm going to use some of the rose puffy stickers. We're going to use 3 of them. I'm going to add 2 in front of the swan, and then 1 I'm kind of going to tuck underneath the sentiment. I ended up scooting it over just a little bit later on. But here's where, after I add my roses, I'm going to add some of the greenery. And I did add my 2 little white flowers as well. I didn't use this flower centers because I thought we would use some gold sequins to kind of bring down that gold. We'll just add those to the center of our flowers using our glue. And then that finishes off card number 8. Super pretty. I think that's just gorgeous. Okay, card number 9. For this card, I was kind of inspired by one of my daughter's dresses. So I have the very itty bitty gold polka dot pattern paper, and I'm going to trim down that to 3 1/4 inches by 4 3/4 inches. And then next, I'm going to be taking, this is the darker pink cardstock that came in a kit. This is going to go on the very bottom of my panel. It's going to leave me about a 1 1/2 inch area on the top with that polka dot pattern paper. We'll just adhere this with our double-sided tape. And then I did cut out 2 thin strips, one with the black cardstock and then one with the white cardstock. Now the white is going to fit right on top of the black cardstock. leaving a little bit of a black border. We're going to use our tape to adhere, and we're not going to adhere the panel just yet, but I'll use my tape to adhere the black cardstock first. And we're going to cover the seam. And then since the white strip was a little bit thin, I'll use my glue to adhere that. This card's a pretty simple card, but I think it turned out adorable. Okay, I'm going to use the little French macaroon, the cookies, and originally I put 6 on my panel, but I end up fixing that. I'm just making sure they're evenly spaced. We're going to line them up above our little stripe panel there. And then I wanted to use the little black and white bow, and we're going to place that to the left of our panel. And my little bow is hanging over, so we're gonna trim off one macaroon. So I'm gonna just take one off, and then using my paper trimmer, I'm gonna trim down my panel. This way it's a little bit smaller, but my bow's not hanging over the edge of my card. We'll do the bottom also. Okay, I'm going to use the little thank you puffy sentiment and place that towards the right of my panel. And I decided to mat this on the lighter pink cardstock. We'll just tape it directly to it, so we have a two-tone pink in our background. I'll place that on there, and then I have that excess we'll just use our paper trimmer to trim off. I'm just evening up a little bit, and then I'm going to use my foam tape and add a little dimension by popping this panel up and placing this on my card base, and that finishes off card number 9. Pretty simple card, but I think it's so soft and so pretty. It'd make a great thank you card, especially with a bag of cookies. Okay, next final card. I am taking a piece of the gold and white pattern paper that has the like newspaper print on there. I'm trimming down my panel. That's going to be 4 inches by 5 1/4. We'll adhere this to our card base. That's going to be our background, nice and soft and settle. And then you can see I cut out a few strips of the cardstock that came in this month's kit. I love the color palette, so I cut out the coral, the light pink, dark pink, the green, and then the tealish blue, and then 3 strips of gold in different widths. My plan is to kind of place them wonky across the center of my card base. I brought in some of my foam tape, but I'm going to place foam tape behind each one of these strips, and I'm trimming them down so they're different widths, and we're just going to kind of arrange them kind of a little bit wonky all over the front, making sure that they're just kind of balanced. Okay, and then for my sentiment, I'm going to use the ephemera piece that says, "You got this," in a real pretty gold font. I'm going to use some of my foam squares, and I'm just, well, the negative piece of my foam squares. It works great too, but I'll place that right in the center. And we're going to use our sequins, again, just 3. I made on a 3 roll, and we'll add 3 here and there. And I think this creates a real fun "You Got This" card with a lot of bright colors. I think the colors are just gorgeous. And then here's some close-ups of card number 10. So now I get to share with you all the 10 cards that I made with the Spellbinders February 2019 card kit. Love card kits. Oh my gosh, and Spellbinders really have amazing kits. All the links for the kits are down below, along with the kit extras in case you don't want the kit but do like the ephemera pack. That option's available. Super fun variety, and I hope you enjoyed my 10 cards, guys. And the swan is just gorgeous. And our little thank you card. And then last but not least is our You Got This card. Now I also wanted to share with you what I have left over in the kit. Since I did my unboxing, I took pictures of the leftovers instead of the entire kit. I figured I will show you what we have left over. So I'm going to take my empty box here, and starting off with the cardstock. When I do my kits, I like to trim down my cardstock either in the quarters or in half sheets. And I had half sheets left of each one of the cardstock sheets that came in this month's kit. Full half sheets, which is great, and then half of the gold foil. And then I have a few extra pieces of the cardstock left over. Tons left over. I think there you could make easily 20 more cards. I have I'd say 2/3 left of my pattern paper. I just use one of each pattern. And then I have my ephemera pack. I have my stash building dies, my stamp set. I have quite a few puffy stickers left. Almost a full sheet of my gold sentiment stickers. I have a tag. This is the acetate that came from 3D stickers. I keep that for shaker cards. I have my sequins and a little bit of tape left over. But that's everything left over from the kit. And then of course you do get your 10 envelopes that will fit your cards beautifully. I usually like to put a piece of printer paper over the top when my cards are detailed like this. That way they slide in easier. But I wanted to show you they fit in the envelopes beautiful. And they're kind of fancy envelopes, and I appreciate that. So these are my leftovers. I think one day maybe we should do a card kit leftover tutorial and use the entire box. I think that would be so fun. But these are the 10 cards that I made with it. I wish you a fantastic day, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. I love hearing your comments and I appreciate them so much. But I wish you a fantastic day, and we will see you again soon. Bye-bye.